Right, off we go again. So, stage 2. And what I want to do is I want to pop a little bit of colour into the sky. And I want to put a few posts into the water. So I'm going to take out a little bit of colour here. So I'll show you how to do that. And also paint in these little trees which are on the island, which is a little bit closer to us than the back trees. Okay, so I've got some clean water and the hake brush again, which is the Go-Tear one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just very slightly dampen the paper. So softly strokes as well. Just a little bit, just with some clean water. And then over the dry watercolour. So I'm going to very, very lightly though. So somebody once said that you do this as though you're stroking a baby's bottom. So very, 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 very softly. Because you don't want to take out the colour too much underneath. So nice and even. And sometimes if you look on the side of your paper, you'll see where the paper's wet and where it's dry. So that's just clean water, pop down. Right, I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow. So it's the Windsor yellow. There we go. And we've got a little bit more sunshine today, so the sun may come over. We'll see how it goes. If I'm fairly speedy, we might be all right. So just popping a little bit of yellow down, using the hake brush. Just pop a little bit of yellow there. Give my brush a wash, and then I'm just going to mix up a touch of the cobalt blue. Now we have a problem with the cobalt blue. I only have this much cobalt blue. I've put an order in, but I'm not sure if it's going to come. So I might be having a dig about and see what other blues I've got. So I'm just going to, as well, just put a little bit of the permanent rose into that. So it takes off the blue. Why I've done that is that when I mix the blue with the yellow in the sky, what can happen, it can actually just blend together and we could get a green. I don't particularly want a green, so by putting a little bit of the permanent rose in, it will just stop the blue and the yellow mixing together to cause a green. So just bring this down. And you can see that I put one brush load down and move on to another section. And then I'm just going to bring this over the mountains. So just bringing it very softly, just over, just down. Can you see how that's maybe going a little bit greeny, but I think it's absolutely fine. Touch more colour. There we go. Bring that down. There we go. So that's sort of a couple of little washes on. I'm now going to mix up some stronger colour and just put a little bit more into the sky. Are you ready for this? So a little bit more cobalt blue. And a touch more of the permanent rose. Just into that little section up there. And watercolour paint, it dries approximately 20% lighter. So this might look a little bit dark to start with, but it will dry that little bit lighter. Right, and that's all I'm going to do. You don't want to fiddle too much as well with your paints, because saying that, I'm just going to get rid of a little bit of water along here. I don't want it to give a bit of a line. So I've just washed the brush, taken out the water, and I'm just going to very lightly just take off any excess water or colour. Again, just washing the brush, and with my fingers I'm squeezing the water out and just taking that off. Okay, so that's the skying, nice and simple. A good sky shouldn't sometimes take more than about 3 minutes. I often might paint a sky and then put the brush down. Make sure you don't dabble, because the more you dabble, the more that accidents might happen and you'll see brush marks, whereas you want to just see pure colour going down. Right, so that's that little bit done. I'm going to let that dry, and then I want to paint in the little island. So I'm just going to dry again. Now I could do this with a hairdryer, but because of what we're doing, I want to do it fairly speedily as well, and without the noise of the wretched hairdryer. So just giving this a dry around, and that's that. As you notice, I'm careful with the toilet roll, not too much. So anyway, off we go. So I'm going to have a little bit richer colour now for doing the trees into the foreground. I also want to create some negative gaps. We don't want the foliage to be too, as though it's just a great big blob. We want little gaps, ideally for those birds to fly through, as people say. But they actually give you distance. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Sometimes it's concentrating on the gaps more than the negative gap rather than the positive gap. And what I sometimes do is I use a little bit of my magic wax. Now I got this wax 7 years ago, and it's melted candle wax. It's from Italy, and it's very dear to me because it has got lots of lovely happy memories of painting in Italy. So and I'm feeling actually at the moment very, very sad about what's happening in Italy and everywhere. So I'm just popping a little bit of this wax just down. So any wax, any candle wax, if you've got just a normal little white candle, just very lightly put that down, and what it does, it acts as a resist, so that when you put your paint on top, you won't actually, you'll have little gaps, but you've got to be careful, because once it's down, that's it is down. So I'm going to a smaller brush now, and this is a number 8 round, and I use I don't use masses of brushes. I haven't got a great big selection of every single brush. I just have a very few good brushes, which is all you need really. So mixing a little bit of the yellow, less water this time. So you saw how much water I put on before with the sky. There's a lot more water into that, which then toned down the colour. So it was a weaker colour, so the strength will be weaker. So less water, more colour, and it gives it more tone. So just putting a little bit of the permanent rose. Right, you can see it's just a touch too much. So go back to the yellow. That's quite nice. So what we'll do, I'm just going to use the brush. So instead of painting with the point, I'm going to paint a little bit more with the barrel, as I call it. And it's this little section of your brush. Just take off the paint, and I'm just going to let the paper try and create some gaps. Touch more yellow. And if we hear any strange noise, it sounded like that actually sounded like either a tap. I don't think it was a bird. So back into a little bit of the blue. So it's that blue, which is ultramarine blue. Straight into the mixture which we've mixed. Again, just taking off. Actually, it wants to be much richer. Touch of yellow. This is probably the most difficult section of the painting that we've done. Oops, not as much. I'm just getting some colour on here. That's better. The thing about doing this live video is it's got to hopefully be okay. I was for a minute then just thinking, oh God, I'm losing it. So I can't... Right. I want to reflect some of this and also just using a little rigger brush. So this is can you see, it's a much smaller brush. It's quite good for little bits of detail. So a bit of a Scots pine going in here. Careful of fiddling too much, Jane. Right, so then I'm going to just reflect some of these trees. So like we did yesterday, I'm just putting a little bit of clean water, again, downward sweeps, and then just reflecting what I've got above. I think the paint's actually reacting a little bit funny. I think it's everything that's happening in this world. Can you see how it's separating a little bit? But I can't blame the paint. So just popping this on. Thinking of colours and things which are going on there. A bit of that going on. And just letting it do its own thing. These little Scots pines. So it's the ultramarine blue. It's not the cobalt blue. Ultramarine is a lot stronger blue, and it's a warmer blue as well. So it'll naturally come forward, whereas the cobalt blue is a cooler blue. So that's ideal for your backgrounds, but also it depends on what country you're in. Some countries you might use different colours. Ours are much more, I don't know, not as bright, I think, is the Lake District. When I go abroad I use a lot of Windsor blue, which is nice. It's just that little bit brighter blue. I use it a lot here as well. So I'm just doing as though there's some little ripples in the front, and then back with the little bit of cobalt blue and the permanent rose. Just a little bit, just for this front little ripples. A bit more blue. So this is, you can actually see that this is going on to damp paper, and it's just blending. So it stops you getting as many hard lines. Alright, so that's the reflections of the trees in. And I might come back and put a little bit of colour on these trees, just to give her, when it dries, a touch. As though there's a few branches and bits and pieces going on. And just with the, so this is the synthetic brush, and it's great at just taking out a little bit of colour. So I just want to, what I call, straighten it up, just these little bits. So just taking out the colour. So wash the brush, give it a good dry through with my fingers. So it hasn't got lots of water on. If it had lots of water on, it'd open it up and everything would, all the paint would move around. And what I want to do is just take out a little bit of colour. Just as though suggesting a few ripples. So there you go. And then what I would also like to do is just check that's dry. I'm going to put a few posts. So I've got a little bit of a mark here, which I think I can make into the side of a post. So there's one post going in. We have to have planning permission here in the Lake District for posts. These are waiting at planning. So I'm going to have five posts, and then one. And these, I'm just popping these in. They're maybe not right, but there we go. Just a little bit of one there. Can you see? So that's just with my pencil. It's a 2B pencil. It's not a H, it's 2B. And this is all what I like to use. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just what I like to use. So, what else I'm going to do is I'm just going to take off a little, no I'm not actually, I was going to say I was going to take off a little bit of colour, which I could do. If I had a lot of colour on here, I'll do it on this one, is I could actually just take off the colour. So I'm taking, as a, you know, the lake colour off, give it a little dry. Right, and then painting a few little posts. What I like to do as well when I am painting, I like to use all the similar colours that I've used in the picture, and it gives it a nice harmony. I don't want to use lots of different shades. I want to create a nice harmony. So I'm using the colour that I actually had here, and I'm thinking, oh, if the light was coming through, so I might say that this side of the post is a little bit lighter. So I'm just popping a little bit of this on. Just down one side. Just slightly dilute it a little bit. So just diluting it with clean water, and that'll just lighten the colour. And then I'm going to put in a nice dark. And I haven't actually used that burnt sienna, which I said I would use, but I haven't used it as yet. I might just pop just a little bit now, a little bit of burnt sienna. It's a while since I've used my watercolours, as you can probably tell. They're a lovely medium. You can take them anywhere, you don't need much. A little bit of water and off you go. Right, so just painting just down the side of this. It's a little post, that's one. Just touching into the edge. Again, just down the side of this one. And that one. And that little tiny one. Right, and then we want a little bit of reflection as well, maybe going on from the post. There we go. So I hope you're going to have a go at this yourselves. I'm hoping to, in the next couple of days, I'm hoping to actually I'm going to do it again, and maybe do a little bit of a step-by-step with some more photographs, but not the video. So a little bit of the blue, cobalt blue. Maybe my cobalt blue might have come. So just bringing a few little reflections down. Load the brush up. I'm going to get a nice amount of paint on there. Swiftly just taking it across. Touch of ultramarine into there. Yeah, can you see how that just changed that colour and just gave it a little bit more strength, which is what it needed. But it's leaving little gaps as well. It's so easy to paint all of the paper, but we do need to at times have areas which are light. So you've got tones, and in a watercolour painting we ideally want maybe, I don't know, if we said 6 or 7 tonal ranges. So you've got a very light tonal range, which is in the lightest section of your paper. Ideally, if you've got a little bit of white as well left on the paper, brilliant. That is your number 1 tone. And then you're going to go to maybe something like this, which is a little bit stronger colour. So you've got a little bit more colour into your watercolour. And then maybe down to here, you've got another strength of tone. And finally, we've got some real strong colours in our posts. You know, I can actually, on these 2 posts, I could put a little bit stronger colour. So a little bit of the ultramarine blue, the burnt sienna. And as you can see, that is nice and strong. So painting that little post in. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's very nice painting along. It's nice just to have, you know, a little bit of silence and just taking it nice and easy. Alright, so that is more or less the painting done. Probably got a little signature down here when it's dry. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. So I'll just take off this masking tape, and when you take that off, it actually, you can do it fairly easily. It gives a nice border. So you could do this on, I've done this a little bit bigger than A4, but you could try it on a smaller piece of watercolour paper. You've got a little pad of it. This is knot, so it's a knot surface. You get 3 surfaces. You get knot, you get hot pressed, and you get rough. Hot pressed is the smoothest. Knot actually means not hot pressed. And then you get the rough. So this is a knot. And yeah, there we go. So we're going to do another one. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I'm hoping to do another one in a couple of days' time and see what you think. All right, thank you, and see you soon. Bye.